So, hello everyone, welcome to the second episode of Integration Tomorrow, the webcast. With me today I have Samuel Vandecasteele, managing partner from i8c, our partner in Belgium, and Rui Figueiredo from Polarising. Thank you both of you for joining us, and I will ask you, like I did on the previous episode, to present yourself to the audience. Samuel, I will start by you. Can you present yourself to the audience, please?
All right. First of all, thanks for having me on this podcast. So I'm Samuel, integration architect and managing partner at i8c. And i8c, well, we focus on everything related to integration and are a long-time partner of Polarising in that space. I have myself quite technical background. Did quite some development and architectural projects. So yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you. Rui?
Hi guys, good morning. So my name is Rui Figueiredo. I'm TIBCO practice lead at Polarising. I've been working in the integration space for around 15 years now, on Polarising for over 10 years. I first started working in integration as a support engineer, then I shifted to developer roles and also architect and design. And in the most recent years, I've been also working with VPM and data virtualization.
Very nice, thank you. So we are, of course, in an integration podcast, and I will start from the beginning. On today's episode, we are talking about EDA, and I will start by you, Samuel. What is the role of EDA in integration?
Well, we directly start with a difficult question, or a big question in that sense. So first of all, yeah, I think EDA is a software architectural pattern. It's not only an integration, but it's quite broad that it's applied these days. It's quite a trend, so it's something that we see more and more been applied in different areas. Application modernization within your microservices, event streaming things, applications in that sense, but also more and more in our integration landscape. I think there are probably a lot of reasons for that, but the two main reasons is I think it further enables decoupling of systems, and that's one of the important things that we need to do as integrators. So we have different systems, different applications within an organization. These need to communicate in a reliable way with one another, but at the same time we also want to give the freedom and independence to each and every team managing one of those systems, and the EDA pattern facilitates or can facilitate that in a way. So I would say enable reliable and real-time communication at a certain scale, but also to better decouple your systems from one another. And typically, and that's what you see here on this slide, I think, we have different capabilities, let's say, and when we look at integration, we have these capabilities: API management, application integration, managed file transfer, B2B integration, and data integration. And I do think EDA can have an impact or a role in each of these capabilities. But the most impacted are, of course, application integration, where we make sure that there is communication between all different applications, and API management, and how do we expose data and functionality, and more, how do we, for instance, also expose event streams. Voila.
Oi, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I agree with Samuel, and we see that organizations nowadays are producing huge amounts of data, so events are being created at 1 million times per hour or second, and these events carry some value and business value, and EDA allows an organization to harvest the value of these events, which are facts, and react in a real-time or near real-time manner, and act and make decisions based on these events that are being generated, and be more agile.
Yeah, let me just pick up what Rui said and ask you, Samuel, why would a business want this? Because I believe it's a good pickup line. And why would a business want this? Let me just share the screen.
Well, I think from a business point of view, we already covered it. So yeah, from an IT, yeah, I would say in a more technical point of view, to have more process flexibility, and that's one thing. So we have a lot of complex processes within our organizations. These need to change, as Rui said, in a more agile way, and it's one of the things that can enable. But also further decoupling of teams and making sure that your different teams can work independently. And have more reliable ways of making sure that data is streaming from one part of your organization to the other part. But those are all quite, let's say, technical things which are important, of course. But it also enables, I think, some real more business use cases for a business. And that's, I think, the most important one there is and that's what you see here, is making a real-time organization. So making sure that if something happens in your organization, says a new customer walks into your retail store, for instance, and so if you can detect that event and you can, as an organization, act upon that event in real time directly, that makes that enables a lot of use cases. When you can, for instance, send that individual push notification on its smartphone with the context that he just enters the store and there is a specific coupon that is now very relevant for him. If you would act upon that event in 2 hours or in 12 hours, that business value of that event is gone. So the same if we see that if stock is low for some products, if we can detect that immediately and act upon that immediately, then of course we can make sure that those stocks are refilled quite fast and not need to wait for again a day before the business knows that. So a great example which I discussed last week is in the energy sector, for instance, where you have energy consumption and every household in Belgium, and I think in Europe, has electricity meters. These produce in real time the consumption of that household in real time. If we can centralize that and then as an organization act upon that information in real time, we can send notifications based on my consumption at house, but also the price of energy and maybe some other aspects, and send me a notification in real time where I need to put on or just put off my laundry machine. And so you can generate new business cases, but first you need the fundamentals, of course, and make sure that you can detect those business events and that you can make sure that they are in real time distributed in your full organization.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want to add something?
I agree, and EDA gives you this great tool that it's the ability to react real time or near real time. So it's mostly associated with asynchronous flows and asynchronous services or APIs, but it's a proactive way to react to something, because if you know which events are meaningful to you and to your organization, you can proactively make decisions and build your organization and your processes and your services to react based upon those specific events that mean very much to you. So I think it's a great value for an organization.
I also want to make this side mark there. So it's currently quite a hype, and it's for a reason. It's something that I think many organizations are needing. Mm-hmm. But it's also not the silver bullet that will solve all your problems. It's not that you need to introduce EDA everywhere and always. That's not the case. Actually, you really need to look, okay, what are my business challenges? What are the challenges at hand? And then you need to look in your toolbox, and EDA is one of the architectural patterns in your toolbox.
So EDA might not be one solution to solve all your problems, but might be a great solution to solve a huge amount of your problems and make you more agile, more faster to make value for your business.
And what about from a technical point of view, Samuel? Do you have anything to add from this perspective?
Yes, a lot of things are in many organizations already in place from a technical point of view. I think the base part is indeed, as you show, an event broker. You need a technical message-oriented middleware to where all those business events are published towards, and then different systems can subscribe to those events and can consume them in a real-time manner. And in the field of messaging brokers, and event broker is a type of messaging broker, there is it's a long-standing field. I think the most used messaging broker is probably still IBM MQ, and it was introduced in 1993, so it's not something fully new here. But we do see that there is a lot of evolution in that space. And I think there, we have the classic queuing and pub/sub brokers. But in the last couple of years, we also see the introduction of event streaming brokers. And then, I think the most common name there is Apache Kafka, which allows a new way of streaming events. And on the left side, what you see here also is, and that's also an interesting one, where public cloud providers, mainly Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud Platform, also introduced in a cloud event router type of broker. So, which is the core, let's say, of their public cloud, but can also be used to integrate different systems in an event-driven approach. So that's, I think, event brokers are the core. There are, of course, a lot of other components, and maybe we can look into that as well. Not sure what you think, Rui.
Yeah, I agree. So in an EDA architecture, the event streaming platform or the message broker is the backbone of the entire solution. It's what allows you to decouple the producers of the events and the consumers, and have this ability to, with this decoupling, you can have as many consumers as you need, scale it as you see fit, and have this ability without having to impact. And also this is quite important from a resilience point of view. So because you have multiple consumers and they are decoupled, they are independent, if something fails, you do not have a cascading effect on other consumers. So the organization can still work while you are fixing or resolving an issue with some particular application or system. And I think this is one of the biggest.
Thank you, Rui. Samuel, let me just challenge you a little bit. I know you shared with us a great slide that I really want you to explain a little bit the functionality of the EDA technical point of view, and please shine.
Not sure I will shine here, but it's a slide where we try to, from a high level point of view, list, let's say, the different things that you need to think about when introducing EDA in your integration architecture. And so we already covered the most fundamental part, the broker. But there are also other parts that you really need to think about, and I think one is the event catalog. So you will publish business events to those brokers, but you need you need, as an organization, also a place where you can know what are all the business events available, what is the definition of it, what are the schemas of it, how can we discover it, who's the owner of that event. How is it modeled? Does it carry the full event state, or will it only carry a notification? So there are a lot of things to think about when modeling the event and making sure that your organization knows about them. But also, if we want to technically expose those events to parts of your organization, or even externally, we can have all applications subscribe to your broker directly. Of course, if you want to expose those events to the outside world, you also will need to apply security. You will need to apply role-based access. You might even need multiple protocols. So not everybody standardized on the Kafka protocol. You have AMQP, you have still GMS, you have a lot of protocols. So you will need kind of event gateway, as we call it then, to make sure that those event streams can be in a secure way and a governed way consumed by external parties. And I think that's a bit the same position as an API gateway and API management has for the synchronous world. Then the third part here is let's say a microservices context, that ideally all the application can consume directly from your messaging broker or your event broker, because that gives them the full freedom, the full independence to work on their own island. But if we procure systems, and if we use buy systems or use SaaS and PaaS platforms like a Salesforce, an SAP, Workday, that's not always the case. So there we will need connectivity logic between the broker, integration logic between the broker and that system. And so also that's something where you really need to think about, and that's with the same logic that we have always been using in our ESPs, or these days in iPaaS platforms, or also in function as a service models. You can implement that. In the Kafka world, they have built a specific component for that in Kafka Connect. But again, connectivity from your broker to other systems is an important part to think about. And another one, and I think there are more, but another we think an important one is think about observability within your organization. As if if you would go all in on EDA, and again, it's not a silver bullet, so please, I think about it very thoroughly if you would do that. But you go to from an orchestrated integration patterns, you go to a choreography-based integration pattern. And then it becomes more difficult to see the end-to-end flows or the end-to-end integration business flows. If, for instance, a new customer is onboarded, to know every system which is involved and which will act upon that. And if something goes wrong, that you can know there something went wrong in that full integration process. And if it's fully asynchronously and in an event-driven way, keeping the oversight is difficult. And for that, to solve that issue, let's say, you need to have a very good applied observability strategy to overcome that. But again, comes with its complexities.
Yeah, thank you, Samuel. Rui, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I might just add that for point 3, the connectivity part might also be a huge part of the solution, because like we said before, EDA might not be one solution to fit all your needs, and it needs to be tailored to your organization, your IT landscape. And here is where it can come in your traditional integration platform that you already have, or an iPaaS solution, where you can have connectors to all your backends or all your legacy systems. You might still need to have this ability to communicate and to connect to all these legacy systems. And you might even have some business logic in there, old services, complex orchestrated services that you need to discontinue in time, but you might still need to have this working in parallel. So this part is also very important when you are going on a journey for EDA.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree on that, and that's something to indeed stress. And also the vendors where for instance we work with are also investing a lot in enabling their platforms, their ESBs, their iPaaS systems to fully 100% be able to cope with such types of architecture, and they are quite leading in that space.
Okay, thank you, guys. So at this phase, let me zoom out a little bit and ask you something a little bit different. What are the challenges of this organization-wise, and if there is any, in the general industry standards, if there is any kind of standards? Samuel, I will start again by you. What are the challenges of this?
There are quite a few, I think, still. Indeed, that's a good point that you mentioned. Indeed, industry standards. So as said, the main, the fundamental component is still that broker. But there is currently not one standard, neither to describe the events on that broker, nor to one standard or a protocol to publish and subscribe from those brokers. So I think there in the industry in general, we do need to or hope or build towards a more standardized approach. In the model and the definition we do see that the standard, both cloud events and async API, two very good standards, are are gaining traction, and though the combination of those two might become the industry standard in that space. But if we look at protocols there, it's even more difficult. I think we have Kafka, we have AMQP, we have GMS, we have MQTT, so a lot of protocols. And I don't see that in the near future there will be one standard. So that brings us to another challenge, is how do we cope with that? How does an event broker cope with that? So I think there is still quite some challenges at hand. From an organization point of view, again, it leaves a lot of flexibility with the different teams, but of course, and flexibility comes also with ownership and with responsibilities. So that's also one part. But I think one of the main challenges, and it's a paradigm shift, where I think the last 5 years everybody focused on REST APIs actually, on the request reply model, and it's not that async model is that much more difficult, but it's a paradigm shift in your head, and that's something that we need to evangelize, I think, within organizations, that when you create an application and create a system, that you not only need to think about how do we communicate with that system in a synchronous way, but also how do I make sure that system also can asynchronously publish events, that it can make its data available in an asynchronous way.
Rui.
Challenges. So going back to the previous slide, the observability, I think it might be a very big challenge, because you are creating flows, you are making data events which are in fact data inside. It might be sensitive data, there are security issues, you need to comply with certain standards, even legal considerations that you might have to take into consideration. And observability is a very big challenge, because you need to know where the data is flowing, which actions are being triggered, what's happening everywhere. Can you correlate the events, the actions? If you have an end-to-end view of what these events have triggered in your IT applications. So I think this is very important. And technically, we can go for some industry standards to help us on this, like open telemetry standards. You can aggregate and correlate all your logs or your data, and that's it.
So, final question in today's episode. I will start by you, Rui. Assuming we have a business need for EDA, how do we start?
Okay, so if you want to go on this journey, I think you first need to look a bit into your current challenges as an organization. If you can identify the core benefits of EDA, if you have low agility, if you have a high cost of integration and complexity over the years, you have built a very complex integration platform, and it's getting really hard to maintain, and you need to look into the future and adapt to the new challenges that might come. I think it might be a good opportunity to look into what EDA brings to the table, and it's also a good time to reach out to us. We can help you identify in which areas you can improve your processes, your flows, using EDA. Design a tailored solution for you, because EDA might not be the only thing that helps overcome these challenges. It might be one of the points, and it can go side by side with also evolving your current integration platform, for example. And we will aid you in access all these challenges and try to look into them in detail and decide the best approach moving forward. Sam,
thank you.
What are your thoughts?
Rui. Samuel.
Yeah, I think I fully agree on that. I think it's important that to look at your business case, of course, and then map the needs of that business case to what's already available within your organization. And some organizations do already have a quite mature integration platform with messaging layers, etc., where we can build on top of, and then we can map it to that reference architecture we just discussed and see if there are gaps. For instance, if your business case would need an event streaming pattern and your messaging layer does not yet have that, then means you have a gap and you will need to introduce a new type of broker. In many cases, that's not needed because you already have a messaging layer, and then we can build on top of that. But I think first you need to look at what we currently have and what's the strategy to go forward, and then map that with the requirements of your business case. And then indeed, as Rui mentioned, an assessment is typically the way we start in such projects, to have a correct as is and find it to be, together with the customer, with the business of the customer, but also with the technical architects.
Okay, thank you so much. I believe that's it for today's episode. Thank you, Samuel, once again. Thank you, Rui. We see you on the next episode of Integration Tomorrow, the webcast.